Awesome. Awesome. Oh, just always a pleasure. Always a pleasure talking with you. There's even
Second
when
to
just
none.
looking at you, I start smiling. there's
Second to cool.
there's many, I guess, many stories behind that. There's history behind that to build that up. So how you been?
I've been very well. Nice to see you again. Also, nice to see you back in, well, on this side of the world.
Yeah. And where are you now? Where you been
I'm in
hiding?
Tokyo right
In
now.
Tokyo. Ooh,
Yeah.
that's really cool. That's really cool. And so you consider yourself a digital nomad.
Of course. I mean, my life is like very, like, I live a very free lifestyle, whereas it's just I go where I go, and I try not to accumulate a lot of stuff, and I just try to be as free as possible to go. Of course, I'm human and I'm still gonna get stuff here and there, but yes, I do consider myself trying to live a free lifestyle.
Awesome. Anyone like obviously for those who may not know you, you're also a minimalist. Like I mention you occasionally. I go, I know somebody who's got like he's got two bags of possessions. That's all.
Hey,
Like
my
that's all he
suitcase.
really needs. That's all. And so in one way, it makes people feel better that they
Mm,
have, because some people don't think they have enough, which seems a bit
of course.
silly.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then they're held back by not having enough in order to live the life that they want, which seems
Oh man.
ludicrous
Yeah.
because you, my friend, blast that whole belief out. Like there's really nothing holding us back but ourselves.
No, no, that's the whole thing. You're what sets you back in life is your beliefs. And it's like what you think about yourself. And the funny thing is like what you think is what holds you back, but also at the same time, what we think itself is something that we believe to be true, but it's not actually true. So it's kind of like a double-sided coin because you can live your life and be very free without the possessions, without all the objects. You don't need it. And the thing is that the truth is like they're not going to make you happy. They're not going to make you fulfilled. They're not going to bring anything to you. They're just going to make you feel empty. As long as you have what you need in life, you're good. But at the same time, it kind of takes it another level of thought process because the thought that we have, it's like to get right into it, is the idea
Yeah.
that our thoughts is like a narrative that we've constructed for ourselves our whole entire lives. And most people act on those thoughts. And there's nothing wrong with like planning and thinking and stuff like that. But it's that when we take it to be something that's so true, because think about your thoughts, they go everywhere. They're like
Mhm.
clouds in the sky that come, they go, they come and
They're erratic. They're sometimes
automatic.
neurotic. They're fear based.
100%.
They're negative at times. I mean, they could
Oh
be
yeah.
positive. They could be constructive,
Yeah.
friendly, but sometimes they're the opposite. So, excuse me. The notion that here's the notion that we've touched upon occasionally that our thoughts are not ourselves.
Yeah, no.
And
It's
people
like
like that whole notion, people get thrown off by that. Like, what do they mean by our thoughts are not ourselves? Like, well, then who are we if we're not our thoughts? That's often the question I get.
I mean, you are like what you are in this life because of the decisions you make. And the thing is, it's not wrong to have thoughts. Like, look, we make plans with some of our thoughts too, right? It's normal. You're human and you're gonna make plans. But I think a lot of it comes down to the reactivity that our thoughts, because I think what you touched on was very true, is the idea that with being like the negativity, the idea of being fearful, all those things, it's like whenever you want to do something in life, right? It's like, when you make a big decision in life and then there's that voice that comes in, it's like, oh yeah, but like, if I do this, I don't know.
Mm.
That is not who you really are. That doubt, that's a hindrance. And those hindrances are what stops most people from living their lives. So it's like sometimes you have to kind of be like weed out the thoughts and kind of know which, yeah, this thought is interesting, but this thought also is probably not leading me down a good direction. Like if I listen to all my thoughts, I don't think I'd be living the lifestyle I live now because my lifestyle would be full. I would be fearful. Even
Yeah.
now, I'm planning on leaving Japan in a couple of months. And of course, sometimes I can hear that thought that's like, oh yeah, but you're comfortable here and it's nice here. You're gonna do this all again. You're gonna pack up and go find a new home again. And then I'm like, no, that's the thought that doesn't want me to grow. That's the thought that wants me, like, it impedes me in my life and will not let me live my best life. So I kind of remind myself that thought isn't me. So it's like it really is about a filter of your thoughts and realizing they aren't everything you think they are.
The for those, the thought is I like what you're saying exactly. The thought. The other way of looking at it is I think is self-talk.
Yeah.
How does one talk to themselves? And I remember growing up, I mean, maybe it was the influence I had. I was hard on myself
Oh yeah.
on not achieving something or my expectations didn't work out as well. I failed at something. It was just like the self talk was really hard, and it took me a while to kind of get out of that self talk. But once I did, there's a sense of freedom. There's a sense of no longer being attached to that.
Yep. I think it's a beautiful thought, actually, a beautiful thought, no pun intended, is that reality is that we spend all of our lives living in our head. And that's like the truth that I think, I see is when you live like a very mindful lifestyle also with things like meditation and you do spend time really examining your thoughts, it does
Mm,
show you in a lot of levels, like your thoughts are like literally like an infirm mental patient. I hate using that word, but it's like, it just goes here, it goes there, it goes here, it goes there. And I think you start to watch and you realize like, my God, if I'm acting on all of these thoughts, I'm like a monkey just swinging from
yeah.
different branches in a tree and I'm not holding on to anything. And I think that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize is they're constantly being governed by every single thought. Oh, this thought comes up, I'm going to pop onto this branch. Oh, this thought comes up, I'm going to pop onto this branch. And they spend their lives just like living on animal instinct and just reacting, 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 and not in a good way. And it's so cumbersome because you live your life and it's exhausting. Like it's literally draining to be that way. And
It
I
is.
get it.
Yeah, yeah. We've been there. Like it's not like we're enlightened individuals. We,
Oh,
we we
no.
touched upon certain ideas here and there, but we've experienced certain things. But by all no means, we're human as well. The analogy I like to use, the analogy of the branches. I like the analogy of the clouds as well, as you mentioned, where it's just your thoughts are just clouds going
Yeah.
by, and you can jump on it. The analogy I like to use also is train. You jump on that train wagon and you just take off with that thought, and
Just
bang,
go.
you are. Like down the road. It's like it could be an hour, it could be
Yeah,
6 weeks, 6 months, but you've
doesn't
just
matter.
jumped into that bandwagon and you've just believed that thought. And then you take the worst, I think, is when you take that thought and then it becomes part of your identity.
Yeah, and that's scary though, because
It
that
can be.
identity creates a mold for you that isn't actually like reality. It's based on something that's so like passing, so fleeting,
Mhm.
so ephemeral that you can't do anything with it. But yet most people spend their lives creating
Yeah.
that identity. And it's like, the comparison, right? What is comparison? I mean, they say a comparison is the thief of joy. When you look around at
Mm.
others, you think, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not good enough. I'm all they have all this. That kind of thing makes you miserable. And people create their identity based on those kind of like
Yeah.
self-limiting thoughts
Yeah.
and feel inadequate based. Oh, yeah, my neighbors have a pool. I don't. Oh no.
The logic that I actually use sometimes is I go, how's that working for you? Or
Yep,
myself. Because certain identity, we need to identify with certain things,
of
and,
course.
and some things are positive, but there's certain things that we identify with that may not serve us
Yeah.
anything, not serve us any
Nothing.
benefit to us,
Yeah.
but we
Yep.
keep on clinging to it or we keep on using it. And I've recently started a mastermind group, and I'm realizing that, I mean, people touched upon it. I mean, I did instigate in the mastermind groups. It's often peers. People are at the same level,
Yeah.
same age, same mindset, but there's someone touched upon self-talk and how he's
Oh,
critical and harsh on himself. And so I told them, I said, in the next meeting, I'm going to just send out an email. I'm going, let's challenge ourselves this time. Let's avoid certain words, because certain words, I mean, thoughts.
oh
To
yeah,
get
they're
to thought,
powerful.
you need words, and the words are the building block of reality. That's the way I see it.
Yeah.
So there's certain words that are very limiting thoughts, such as
I can't.
the bang on that
Yeah.
one. Now exactly. It seems like I hear that so often, and
I
it,
can't.
it, it doesn't provide any solution. It
Nope.
just it just stops everything right
Breaks it down.
away. There's
Breaks it
no
down.
way of advancing with I can't. That's it. You just dropped everything. There's no way. So or the one that often I find very weak as well is I'll try.
Oh yeah.
There's no advantage.
Where's the
It's
action in that one,
there's
right?
nothing. There's nothing. It's like you might as well just say no. I'm not doing it. Just be a
I'll
man.
try.
I'm not doing it. But yeah. Any other words that come to mind which are limiting?
Don't worry. You're doing good there. I mean, there are many when it comes to that kind of like
Yeah.
self-limiting, like I can't, I'll try. I want to do this, and also the but. Actually, that's the one I go,
Oh yeah,
da,
yeah.
da, da, comma, but
But yeah,
da,
it
da,
doesn't matter
da,
what you said in the beginning. But it's just
but.
that's it. But is the after that is the truth.
Exactly. At the end of that statement is basically what the person's saying. And the thing
Yeah.
is, again, all of that comes from like a fear. And I mean, like I spent my whole life, like, 30 something years of my life living in fear. I lived my life
Mm.
being that person that did live with that. You know, I want to do this, I can. And I looked around at others, and when people would like travel or live good lives, and I was unhappy and be like, people, they must do something wrong because they have these good things. And then I realized, no, like these people were just learning to be like masters of their mind. That's like the truth that
Mm.
it all comes down to. Because we always say that, people put this emphasis in life on what you do, what you do with your deeds, right? And then they say, oh yeah, okay, that's important. And then what you say is, secondly most important. What
Mhm.
you think doesn't matter. They like throw that out the window. The funny thing is that needs to be switched. The truth is it all comes from here. The minute your
Mm.
life starts to come and realize that it all starts with your thoughts, then you can start to switch the paradigm of your life and realize like, oh, I have so much power. I have so much agency. It's like one thing I teach with my students is that I give them agency in the classroom. And I think this is empowering to all people. When you realize that you have so much agency in your life, if you just take stock of what things are,
Agency. What do you mean by that?
power. Agency is
Power.
like you have that self-power. I mean, like it's like example, like most students are used to going to a classroom and they have a teacher that just tells them what
Mm.
to have to do it. I don't believe in that model. I think
Yeah.
that model is garbage and it needs to be eliminated in the classroom with students because students, no one likes to learn that way. It's like having a dictator just tell you what to do.
Boring.
Students, what I've learned is I tell them, okay, what are we going to do today? Let's work together. Of course, there's a curriculum base that needs to be done, but we can do it mindfully and together. And I think that's what's important.
More engagement. So it's more
More
of a
engagement.
dialogue rather than discourse down below. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's the idea that you're teaching people. Like we have that agency, and agency comes from our thoughts. And that's the idea about these thoughts, like the negative ones, that's limiting your agency
Yeah.
because it's basically
And
saying
they're
you're
going to be there. They're going to be there.
no,
There's no, it's not like it's just a question of minimizing them and at least having some type of self-control mentally to not jump on that bandwagon and take off on that negative thought. And
100%.
the worst, I've had it like I've experienced it many times where I had a negative thought about something in the future. It never even happened, but I was just negative about it the whole time. And then when it came about a couple of days later, I was like, that was wasted energy. That was what was I thinking? I didn't have to even think about that because the worst didn't happen. It was all of my
Nope.
thoughts.
All my thoughts.
So I
And
think what, yeah.
yeah, continue.
So I think you're touching upon this other idea that your inner world is simply a reflection of your outer world.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, and that's the thing, our inner world becomes our outer world. It's like what we think is what we become,
Mm.
right? So when you start to think things, you basically start to create that world because you're manifesting that very thought that you thought in your head. So when you start to think really negative thoughts, you get a negative life. It's like actually really that simple.
Yeah, yeah. It's. I mean, some people think it's like black magic. Like, what's it's. Is it that simple? What you think about on a regular basis, you basically manifest in a way. You create out.
I believe that you sync up with that energy. I think no matter whatever you want to call it, you do like align with it. If you have a life of fear and of doubt and of
Mhm.
anger, you're gonna get that. It's like, I think of like when I was like that kind of person, the energy that you have, you end up syncing with people like that too. Like you end up encountering people in your life that are just like that because they're syncing up with your energy. And then you end up all surrounding yourself with people who probably aren't the most positive, who
It becomes
probably are
normal. It just becomes
because normal.
normal. Everyone thinks that way. Everyone's the same aligned. Yeah, it's
But it's not like, and that's the thing. And then when you change that, that's what I noticed with my life is when I changed my thought pattern and started to become very conscious. The people that started to enter my life, people like you, I had more like positive, like-minded people that help you, are growth inspired people that want to grow in their lives. And it doesn't mean that we're all doing the same thing. You might be, I don't know, like a successful lawyer doing this, and you might be, it doesn't matter. It's all about people who are just trying to grow in their lives. And that's
yes.
the idea. People you're
Yeah.
surrounding yourself with. The people that are just this way, like-minded in the sense
Yeah.
that they want to grow. And that's
And, yeah, and talk about growing. This is things that I remind myself as well about the growth part about it. In
yeah,
order to grow, and I tell this to my coaching clients, I tell this to my mastermind group, in order to grow, one needs to be in uncomfortable situations. That's
100%.
that's the only place there's growth. And
Oh
if
yeah.
we're avoiding it, or nubbing it from the start,
Yep.
or seeking ways of minimizing that discomfort or
Yeah.
seeking pleasure in order to avoid that discomfort,
Oh, yeah.
there's no growth. And it could be on a mental side, it could be on an emotional side, it could be on a financial side as well. It seems like it encompasses all of it. In
All
order
of
to
it.
grow on a mental, physical, our financial side, you need to feel somewhat uncomfortable because, as we know, the body just wants to be comfortable, keep everything the
Late.
same, lazy.
Yep.
It's just it's the norm. It's the human condition. The human condition wants the body to just do nothing and just eat chips and Doritos
And Oreos on the
all
couch.
day long in front of the TV.
It's true. And I think that's the thing. It's like our body, we like the path of least resistance as human beings. But the funny thing is we've gone against our evolutionary trait. Like we were nomadic peoples, thousands of years
Hmm.
ago. But the truth is because of, agriculture and farming, we became sedentary. And so we kind of trained our brains over generations to just be sedentary. What you just said is sit on the couch, watch Netflix and eat your Doritos and call it a day. Which again, every now and then, if you wanted to do that to recharge yourself, and that's what you use as your
Sure.
recharge,
Yeah.
okay. But I'm saying is when you're doing it like what you're saying, if you're doing it all the time and that's like
It
your
becomes a
life,
habit. It becomes a habit, and then you identify with it. It becomes part of who you are on a Sunday afternoon. Well, the question is, how's that working for you? Like, is that benefiting you? Is that making you grow? Is that you're getting in better situations, or you're just kind of stuck in the same way? Are you happy with your life?
and I remember I think about like there was, I'm not naming names. I used to work with a guy who I worked with in Montreal at the school board, and his classic line was, I just want to go to work, do my 8 hours, go home and be left alone. And I remember thinking, like, how is that going to make you happy in this life?
Hmm.
It's not going to make you happy. Like you're living a life that's just like just existing. And that's another thing too about living. We live in this world. You have a choice in life. You can exist or you can live. And they're
Hmm.
so different. And that's the idea. When you live with your fears and you live with that, you're just
What's the difference? What's the big difference of that?
I think the people who live are the people who are living life on their terms, no matter what it is. Like, let's say you're living and you're like, man, I want to be a successful entrepreneur and I want
Hmm.
to do things in my way. That's living because you're doing it on your terms. But if you're just existing, you're just doing what you don't really want to do, but you just feel like, well, like I said, no agency,
You're
no blah,
going
blah,
through
blah,
the motions.
with emotions. And I mean, I existed, and that's why I'm saying I can actually speak
Wow.
for it. I existed for 35 years until I was like, no more.
I
I'm
like
done.
to. I think you told me the analogy. What was it again? It was about ass and seat, or what was it? What's
Yeah,
the?
AIS, absentee. Like literally, as long as it's the Frank Perot, remember those Raven analogy. Like as long as your butt's in that seat, like that's it.
You're
That's all
good.
it
You're getting paid. You're good. No one's going to give you any trouble, and
nope,
then
you're not
you can
growing.
survive till Friday and be fine, and then hopefully you got the weekend, and you can live on the
Yep,
weekend, and then get back Monday and just kind of exist for
miserable
another
again.
5 days.
And be miserable again.
Yeah,
That's the thing with the Monday morning, the Monday morning blues, because this is like a thing in our world because most people are doing things they don't love and they're not
yeah.
happy with it. Again, there's circumstances in life which of course I know make people have to do those things, but there's always some power in your life. And that's the thing I think about the thought is that thoughts, like I said, yes, they can be very negative, but it's also
Hmm.
reminding ourselves on the other coin, they can be empowering when we take them to take proper action and
Hmm.
real action with a good volition in our heart. And that's what those thoughts can be powerful because they can change your life by, like you said before, instead of using things like, I can't do this, I can't,
Yeah.
oh, I'll try. Instead of saying, no, it's not saying I'll try. Say, I will do that.
Exactly. Yeah,
So
yeah. Much more empowering. And it doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it's a higher
no,
probability it's going to happen. So what can, I mean, for those who, I know there's people who hear what we say, they go,
yeah,
ah,
sure.
this is bullshit. This
That's
is,
crazy talk.
yeah. And there's some people who go, well, this is interesting. But how do I go about it? Like, tell me
100%.
more. Like, they're somewhat lost. They're seeking, they're finding
Yeah,
something, but they're distracted, and they come back, and then it takes a lot of effort. I mean, it's not for everybody to kind of break free from your thought. Like that is
yeah.
very
How,
difficult. It takes many years. Like how would you suggest to people who want to kind of pursue that path?
of course. I mean, to be honest, as people who spend our lives being introspective, I actually say to people, because look, like if you can, start tracking your thoughts, start observing your thoughts, like really observe your thoughts and observe your thoughts objectively. And if it helps, like make a journal of your thoughts. Oh yeah, 1001, negative thought, fear about this. Because when you start putting them all together and you realize this narrative of your monkey mind that takes you to here, to there, to everywhere, you're gonna start to realize like, oh yeah, this is what's been ruling my life. Like when we go to like let's say a meditation center for 10 days or
Yep.
20 days, 30 days, okay, you're not allowed to write down what's happening. But the thing is, you're able to see it so clearly because you have nothing else to do. But in the regular world, you do have the ability to write it down,
Hmm.
examine it, observe it, like really take a good look at what's happening in your mind. And I think if you can start to track it and see it and it's visual, or you can like read it out loud and it's auditory, whatever
Mhm.
style of learning works for you, I think that might give somebody a real chance to learn to see like, yeah, these thoughts like this didn't happen. It's like, what is fear? All these thoughts that I had
Mhm.
today, that didn't happen. Or, oh, that anger that I had towards my cousin who ate my block of cheese when I was 10 years old. Like, oh, that
Let
didn't
it
last.
go. That was a while
Let it
ago.
go. Like, what did that do? Nothing. So I think like really
So writing it down
very
and
good.
being aware of that negative thought. So
Yeah,
it appears as if you're saying we could choose our thoughts. Is that
yeah,
what you're saying?
yeah,
So
absolutely.
if someone writes it down, then what? What can they do after that? Like that's one
Action plan.
start.
Action plan, so that once you have your written down thought pattern, you got your action, right? Then you can start making like, okay, when I see these thoughts, how can I change this? And then how can I realize that the thought that I had, like the negative thoughts, aren't me? Because when you start to count them all up, you're gonna realize like these thoughts just bring you down. So it's like you become accountable. Like there's nothing wrong, and don't feel hard on yourself for having those
Mhm.
negative thoughts either. That's another thing too. Have self-love. So you know what? Today I had 99
Yeah.
negative thoughts. Tomorrow, if I have 98,
Ah, that's beautiful. That's
that's a
lovely. I like
victory.
that. I like that. It's very encouraging. And it's I think it's small increments. We
Yes.
overlook. We overlook. I think the quote,
Yeah.
and I this is my quote for the year. You may know it.
Go for it.
We overlook
Yeah.
what we can do in 10 years and we underestimate what we can do in 10 years and we overlook what we can do in a year.
Yeah. I like that. That's actually
Yeah.
brilliant. It's brilliant.
Because it really comes into time that the notion that what we do has exponential growth at times.
Oh yeah. Like,
As you said, if one amount, 1%
yep.
of positive thought is out there, imagine the following year you get 2%. And from 2%,
Huge.
you potentially get four. From four, it grows exponentially. And repeated, I think any type of success involves repetitive, consistent action, like daily action, doing it every single day. And then it's amazing what can be achieved in anything, like the thoughts, but also physically as well.
It's like exercise, right? You know, go to the gym. Let's say you do, I don't know, 5 reps one day, and the next day you're managed to do 6.
Yep.
Wow, nice.
Yep.
You've built on that, and that's the idea about life. Life is all about that incremental success. And if you let's say you go back to the gym the next day and you only did 4 because whatever reason your shoulder was sore, or your arm was sore, not
Yep.
being hard on yourself, saying, you know what, today, the arm was a little sore today. It's okay. The arm was a little sore. I only did 4,
It
but I'm
is what
proud
it
of that.
is. It is
It
what
is
it
what it is.
is. No worries. I mean, there's always the next day. As long as the attempt is there, the effort is there to get better. The attempt is there to do the task, which may not be comfortable for
No,
growth, which
no.
may involve going to the gym, which may involve being retrospective, may involve writing down negative thoughts,
Yep.
may involve meditation if you want to go go that far. But
I mean,
there's certain things that certain tasks that are uncomfortable, but makes us grow.
I think what you said before, I mean, let's go back to that thought, to kind of come back to it was very true in the sense that you just have to lick the discomfort. And I think there's a good line about that one about being uncomfortable to really grow. You got to lean into it sometimes.
Oh,
So I felt like,
oh,
man,
yes.
I understood zero Japanese. Like I didn't know anything. I feel like konnichiwa. I know say hello. Even now, my Japanese is still very limited. But it was that I learned to just lean into like the discomfort and take things step by step, breath by breath, moment to moment. And I think that awareness of like not thinking so far ahead and just looking at your life like moment to moment. Oh, look, there was a little thing. Oh, I have to go to City
Yeah.
Hall to get this paper. Oh, okay, it didn't really work out so well. I got to go back to City Hall to get this paper again. It's okay. And not being negative with those thoughts. Like when you have little failures or setbacks,
Mm,
just yeah, like it is what it is. That's
yeah.
okay. I'm grow from this setback and become much better. And that's the thing about the people you see who are living their best lives. They're the people who really learn to like, everyone has failure. Everyone has
Of
setbacks,
course. I was just
right?
talking about this today with somebody else. It was so important. The one side of success is failure, like the coin of success. If you look on the
Yeah,
other side, it's a big F on it. There's failure.
it's a giant
One,
F.
you cannot avoid failure if you're looking for success. It's all part of the deal.
Yep.
And reminding ourselves that when there is failure, there's lessons.
There's lessons, and there's
Yeah.
always lessons,
Yeah.
and they're beautiful lessons. And that's the thing. Those lessons are great because those are the lessons that are going to really help you grow as a human being in
Yeah.
every respect. Oh yeah, man, like
There's also I've got this 10-year vision. With the mastermind group, I've got, we've all planned our 10-year vision and all that. And some certain things, like some people have difficulty writing down because then they got to commit to it, which is
yeah,
very challenging. I get it. But there are certain things that I wrote down. I'm like, and this is where I know it's a goal, because I'm like, okay, how am I going to do this? How am I going to, like, my goal, the simple one. This is a very simple one. On a physical level was, I wanted to touch my toes, like touch my
yeah,
hands on the floor as if I bent over, and like a really good stretch. I mean, at 17, I couldn't even touch my knees. I was that unflexible. So
of
at my age, to be able to put my palm of my
course.
hands on the floor as I bent over, I'm
Hey,
like, how am I going to do this? And the fact of writing it down and realizing, okay, this is what I want to do. I don't know how I'm going to get it, but eventually I tried certain things. Some things worked, some things didn't. But I think I failed forward in a way. Does that make sense? I failed forward, and eventually, oh, this works, and I can see some progress with it. And all it was it seems so simple now, but 2 weeks ago I didn't realize it. But it was simply taking a weight, a weight, and and having it when I bend over, basically having that weight
kind of
weigh
how
me
you know.
down, and that way I could, like, it seems so simple now, but it's helpful. Yeah,
Yeah, but
it's
the
helpful.
mind finds it, right? You find those solutions and in that challenge. And that's the thing too, because if you don't ever challenge yourself, I mean, it's easy. Like you said, the path of life is the path of least resistance. It's so easy just to sit on the couch, do nothing. But when you really start to challenge yourself, and like you said, whether writing it down, like I find writing it down is actually very helpful. I
Yep.
find even action plans for the things that you have to do because it puts it out there and it really does make you accountable for what you should do. But at the same time, like I said, be kind to yourself if you kind of mess up here and there, but at least you see it and it's there and you're
Mm.
putting that out there. I think it's very easy just to kind of live in a kind of very passive state. And I see the people I know that I've my old friends who I grew up with who live very passive lives, who aren't fulfilled in their lives and aren't very happy. And I want everyone to be happy. And it's not about that. It's that it's the passivity, and I think that passivity is part of a mental hindrance because it's what says, oh yeah, well, I'll do this, yeah, another time,
Yeah, there's always tomorrow. Yeah.
it's tomorrow. But
Yeah.
like, really, is there tomorrow? Like,
Mm.
reality is live your life in the here, live your life in the now. What the most important moment of your life is the breath you're taking right now, because this is the
Mm.
moment this is your life. The future and the past are just concepts that we've created, right?
Love that. I love that. It's just it's a thought. The past and the future is simply a thought.
That's it.
I find it mind blowing, the idea that what we're thinking in the past, it's just a thought. It doesn't matter.
This is a
It
lot.
really, I mean, it does matter to a certain degree, but what matters most is the present time.
This like is all you have. And
Yes.
when you start to build your life building on the blocks of the here and the now, it's like, when people always say like, oh yeah, like, oh, well, in 15 years, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna travel to Thailand or whatever it is.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah,
they do no action about it.
yeah.
They're not doing anything with it. It's like nothing wrong if you're like, okay, my life is and I can't do it. That's nothing wrong with that. That's totally cool. But it's that when you're constantly just putting off your life because you're just, you're letting fear or whatever it is. Oh, I don't have the
Doubt.
money,
Yeah.
doubt, or whatever it is
Mm,
that stops you from living your life, then it goes back to just existing because you're not really living. You're just
mm.
kind of existing on a very small scale. And one day you'll look back and have lots of regret. And then unfortunately, that
Yeesh.
regret,
That's
you
not
know,
pleasant. That's not pleasant. Yeah.
no,
So besides writing, is there something that they can do on the positive side in order to, like, once you're aware of those thoughts, negative thoughts, and choosing, either believing them
yeah.
or not, what can they, is there something that can be done to encourage more empowering thoughts, more positive thoughts that can lead them to take risks or lead them to create the life that they want? Like, how does that work?
I mean, to be honest with you, I think a lot of things comes down to like the baby step analogy. It's like you gotta
Yeah.
like make that action plan, but start to do things. And even if it's a small, tiny little step, start to take action from those good thoughts. Like don't be a slave to the negative thoughts. But at the same time, when you have like a good thought, like start to nurture it, start to really feed that thought. Like if you're
Mm,
like, oh, I want to get back in shape, don't wait for tomorrow to go back to the gym. Go,
yeah.
go, go. go look at it today.
You don't
Like,
have to wait New Year's Day. Like,
no,
yeah,
the whole New Year's resolution thing. Actually the thing for me. Those New Year's resolutions, I gotta look at that. Every New Year's, people come around, they have all these things, and then they make these. They wait for a day of the year to make this resolution. Then B, the next day they fail at it, and then or a week later they fail, and then they're miserable. I'm like, what is this?
yeah,
This
yeah,
is like
yeah.
masochism.
They've got this expectations that the moment they try something, it has to be successful. And if it isn't,
No,
then they're the failure. It's not the fact that they don't
no,
know how to do certain things, and which here's what I use sometimes with my children, as I say, there's you,
yep,
and there's things you do. It's different. There will be
100.
times you fail. Doesn't mean you are a failure. I mean,
Oh,
you need to distance yourself from that, as well as the thought. So I like that thought of distancing yourself from failure.
like observing yourself objectively, like a doctor would examine a patient. I always think of like, of my girlfriend's analogy about, if you just always like oh, I feel this, you're
Mm,
always feeling miserable. But like, if you just start to like observe yourself and observe your thoughts like a doctor would, if you go see a
ooh,
doctor and you break your arm, of course your arm hurts, but the doctor's arm doesn't hurt. The doctor's just observing you. The doctor's like, well, I'm going to give you a course of treatment, and this is what we're going to do, and we're going to fix you up. If you look at your life more like detached in some ways, not saying you have to be cold and uninvolved in your life, but if you take a step back and you realize that all of those like crazy thoughts that you have aren't you. It's like I remember I told you that when I went to Korea in the summer and I did my first long course, right? I did a
yep,
20 course.
yep.
And that course, I really got to see like how infirm the mind is, like how one moment the mind is like really happy and it's really, oh yeah, this is so great. I'm living the dream. I'm in South Korea in the summer and I'm here and I'm doing this. And 10 minutes later, it's like, why do I come and do this? 19 minutes left of this is crazy talk. Like, and it just showed me, like I said, is that if you spend your whole life just going on that way, you're gonna always just never be satisfied. And it's like the idea of just like stepping back from those thoughts sometimes and just kind of leaning back and
Mhm.
looking at it, saying, okay, like that's what I'm saying, like being accountable, trackable, whatever works for you, but really taking stock of it. And I think that's the thing about those thoughts. Like when you're really well aware of like every day that you have 999,000 thoughts, and I would say like how many percent of them are probably negative. If you realize that, it can help you build so much. Because if you just, even if you still have those thoughts, because it's normal, like people always tell me, oh, so do you like, can you control your thoughts? I'm like, no. I'm like, not.
Are you an alien? Are you superhuman? Like,
Literally.
where are you
And also,
from? Planet? What planet are you from?
is it like my control? No. Or can you stop thinking? I'm like, can you stop thinking? It's like when you're sick to say, okay, body, get better right
Yeah,
now. Like
yeah,
it doesn't
yeah.
work that way. Like
Yeah.
but it's the idea that you're able to like really look at it with a more impartial, objective sense. And I think if you can do that, then it starts to change how you're interacting with
So
those.
being mindful, being introspective in a way, observing, being
Yeah,
conscious, being aware, all those,
yeah,
whatever word that works for you, but just observing in a
yeah.
way is in a way the first step.
And the thing is that first step will take you, I think, very far, because then from that first step we'll build the building blocks for more and more good action, right? Not the reaction, because the reaction is what makes people unhappy, because that's
Mm,
what animals do. They
yeah.
just react their whole life. Whereas action will help build a successful life, the life that you want to live, where you're living the life. Okay, I want to buy a triplex. Okay, I got that triplex. Now I want to buy
Mm.
a whole apartment block. I got that apartment block. Now I want to buy a whole city block. That's great. Like, good job, man. Like, that's awesome. Good for you. Like,
We need entrepreneurs who create value in housing. Of course, like there's many ways of giving value to society.
yes, in every way. And that's the thing too. Like, and value, what is value? Value can be given on small interactions with human beings. Like, that's the thing
Mm.
too. Like, we think that we're powerless to make the world a better place. But you know what? I feel as the world, because there's so much negativity. And I think if you watch media, the media is the worst. Like, stop watching the news. This is what I tell my family.
Oh, what is
Stop
it?
watching the news. Like, it's the
What's
worst.
the CNN? What does it stand for? Constant negative news. That's all
Constant
it is.
negative news. Like,
That's
and
all it
literally, and
is.
people find their lives being dominated. And that's what controls their thoughts.
No, and it deep. It goes right in their thoughts. But not only that, but then over time, it just eats
Oh,
away
yeah.
at their core, and then they get sick. Which seems which seems unbelievable. But is it possible that through your negative, consistent negative talk, or being exposed to negativity on a regular basis, that eventually on the other side, through thought, through emotion, through then behavior, habits, and through action, you get sick?
You get sick because you've created the conditions in your life. It's like you've ate McDonald's every single day for your life, right? Every breakfast, morning, lunch. Like
And you're
there was a
expecting to live to 100 or something.
exactly. There were the supersized documentaries where the guy ate McDonald's every day. After like a month, his doctor was like, you need to stop doing this. Like you're gonna die
That's
if you keep
funny.
doing this. Like that's the idea is that you're creating that's your diet, right? And that's the thing too about like in your life. And I always say this, but we talked about this before. Food, like what you consume in your
Hmm.
life, isn't just food.
No,
It's
it's medicine.
that is it. It's who you talk to, what you read, you know what I mean?
Oh,
What you watch. These are the things in your life that really build your life. This is,
yeah,
consumption and on all levels. And most people don't realize that they think, oh, it's just like what I eat.
yeah.
But
So you're saying what you eat has huge influences on the body, and then most people understand that. But you're also
yeah,
saying that what we consume from a mental
oh,
level, either reading or
yeah,
consuming, or social media, or the news, or who we're surrounded by,
yeah.
has also huge effects on what we're consuming. Our mental mind is consuming on a regular basis, and if it's consistently constant negative news or constant negativity, illness comes about.
Oh, it will definitely come about, and then you'll end up, and it manifests itself with hatred, with aversion, with all
Yeah.
those things, and it's not normal. Like we weren't built to hate. We weren't built. This is something that we've
Mm,
been taught as children. We're built to love.
yeah.
Children are built to love and compassion, and that's the idea that. But as human beings, we break away from that, and we teach hatred. So we can still learn to love. It's just that the reality is that most people consume so much negativity that they just can. That's what I'm saying.
Mm.
With the CNN world we live in, the 24 hour. Because look, that sells, and I get that's what
Yeah.
news
Oh yeah.
is.
Our
But look,
eyeballs are up for sale and our attention span, and that's what they want. The more people watching, the better, and the more especially what I find is sensationalism.
oh
Like
my
this,
goodness.
like some people talk about certain things. I'm like, this isn't news. This isn't newsworthy. This is sensationalism. And it's just to get your eyeballs onto the TV or to the monitor or to the cell phone, and that generates more income for those who produce this garbage.
And to feel very passive. And that's another thing too, is that you end up feeling so passive, like, well, but the world is such a bad place,
Oh
and they have
yeah, yeah.
negativity, and oh, you really want to do that? It's dangerous.
Oh yeah.
So you hear about that.
Of course, the world is a very dangerous place if you constantly consume negative news that is going around the world. Because if that's all you're focused on, the notion I like to we should. I mean, we've been talking for a while. I mean, we can go on. I think you got a
I know.
schedule to keep with it. So let me know. So one thing I like is the idea that oh, I just fleeted. The thought just fleeted just so fast, just like a cloud. What we focus on does expand.
Oh,
Yeah,
100%. I mean,
yeah.
that's the idea too. It's like if you only focus on if you only focus on the negative in your life, that's what you get. But the minute you start to focus on like the good in your life, and you say, okay, you know what? Like I'm really doing really well at this right now, and I'm doing real. I've been biking and I've been doing 5K, and I should be proud of myself. You
Mhm.
see how it's like a snowball, and it starts to get better and better and better. And I've noticed that even in my own personal career with teaching, is that like developing my own successful teaching career with a student base where basically it all started from like, one student. And now I have, I don't know, 175 regular students that book my
Amazing.
classes. It gives me the ability to travel and live anywhere I want to live. I have freedom. I set my own schedules. I do as I wish. And I get to interact with little minds every single day. And look, it's not for everybody. I don't say that
Mhm.
it is for everybody. But the idea is that I feel I'm giving value back to the world. And that's what I feel really good about is that I can, and I'm not just like hammering home like some kind of boring curriculum. I think it's more of like being a teacher is someone that's, making people feel good about themselves and having good interactions with them. I laugh with my students. We have a good time. And are they going to get 100% of the curriculum? No. And if I think that, I'm going to make them unhappy and miserable. And I don't want to do that for them. I don't want to suck the life out of them learning English. I want them to enjoy it. I want them to have fun. I want them to have a good experience. And that's the idea about I'm trying to focus on the positive, and that's the whole idea about like whatever you do in life, what your intention is, it's just to make sure that it's a growth inspired, trying to be positive, trying to bring something back. Whether you work in Tim Hortons or you're the CEO of Loblaws, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. It's all about what
Yeah.
you put into the world, and that's what's
Yeah.
the most important thing.
Well said, my brother. Well said. I think it's just comes down to loving yourself and loving others and giving back certain ways. And
100%.
it does stem with the thoughts. So how do we wrap up this thought process?
I think that the truth is that remember the words of the Buddha. It's like, what we think we become, which is what I said before. So when you start to have all those thoughts and you really catch yourself in that spiral, observe it. And I mean, it's so hard to say,
Hmm.
but it's not. Like, you really just stop and take account when you're having this thought, like, what is this thought really going to do for me right now? This, like, oh, this fear-based thought. It's not going to do anything for you. If it's, and
Yeah.
when you start to realize those thoughts and you start to really understand them and delve deep into them, you realize that they're not you.
Hmm.
And some thoughts are going to be positive thoughts. Those are the thoughts those are your building blocks. But the minute you have those like really negative thoughts, those are just hindrances in your life. And recognize the hindrances because they are going to far outweigh the good ones. So you have to be really mindful. And it's like you got to be vigilant. Like be aware, be attentive of it, write it down. Or if you don't want to write
Hmm.
it, at least be constantly aware of when it happens. Oh, yeah, there it happened. Oh, there it happened.
Yeah.
And make an action plan in your life and be accountable for it, but be kind to yourself when it does happen, to have that love and compassion. Say, yeah, like that negative thought came,
Hmm.
I didn't act on it, or I didn't kind of get caught in that spiral, and I was okay, and I moved forward. And that's the whole idea. Like we said, you're not your thoughts. Your thoughts are just clouds in the sky that we try to hold on to, and that's the thing. Like you can't, you just
So
can't.
here, just to wrap it up. So if you're not one's thoughts, and this is a question I get often, then who are we?
I mean, we're living beings that are almost one step up from animals, and that's the thing about like really being mindful of your life is that you can take a step away and not just be a reactive animal. And I think that's the idea is that you're not all you're of course they are a part of you and they are part of your existence for sure, but it's about being very aware of them and not playing the game of just kind of jumping from branch to branch. Because the minute you're jumping from branch to branch, that's just misery. That's just
Yeah.
suffering. That's
Yeah.
that's the idea. As long as you're aware of it and you know it, man, you got agency. That's what I'm saying about agency. You got power. You're able to
Hmm.
do this. But if you don't, you're just like the monkey in the tree looking for that banana.
There's not much difference. Not much difference between the monkey and me. Okay, so this has been really good. So how do we wrap this up? So basically, you're in Japan now, and you're moving to where are you moving further down the road?
My next plan is Malaysia. I'm gonna do a few like travels in between and come back to
Yeah,
Canada for a bit. And then
cool.
I'll do Australia for a little while to do a 30-day meditation course in October. And then hopefully by like December, I think we're looking at
Yeah,
probably like starting off around the new year, give or take, in Malaysia to start a new city, a new chapter, and see where it goes from there. And if
that's
that
cool.
doesn't work,
That's cool.
that's
That
okay.
is so cool. That is so cool. Thank you, my friend, for taking the time to talk about it,
Thank you, brother.
which is something important. We both believe it's very important, and we'd like to share
Absolutely.
this with other people about it because it's had a huge effect on both of our lives on this.
Yeah.
So let's spread the good word on this. So thank you very
Thank you,
much,
man.
and we'll see each other again.
All
Bye
right, man.
bye.
See you, bro.